Hey guys, this is Lisa from NYC Gal Out. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, I actually got a lot of interest about this, so I decided to do a follow-up about the tenant from hell, Harvard graduate, 55-year-old Elizabeth Hirschhorn. Okay, so she had rented some Airbnb, and it was only supposed to be for 6 months, but she ended up staying an additional year and a half, and she was living there rent-free. So let's get into it. She finally got the boot, by the way, but I'm going to get into all the nitty-gritty. So this tenant from hell, Elizabeth Hirschhorn, she finally got the boot out of the Brentwood mansion where she hadn't paid rent for 575 days. Okay. She's a Harvard graduate. She booked a 6-month stay in a luxury guest house that's attached to a $3.5 million home back in September 2021, but refused to move out after the period expired, citing COVID-19 and what she said was an illegally built shower. She basically said that she deserves to stay there because there was an illegal shower built there. Like, what kind of fuckery is that? But anyway, when the landlord, this Dutch national, attempted to evict her, Hirschhorn countersued and demanded $100,000 in relocation costs to move. They live in the state of California, which is a state that has very friendly laws that benefits the renters. And unfortunately, the landlords get the short end of the stick because there is a homeless crisis going on in that state. So she is somebody that has worked the system a lot. She has sued many landlords. She's done this scheme like all her life, it seems. So by now, this is probably how she gets her money. I mean, I'm not even sure how the fuck she passes a credit check. But anyway, the serial squatter's exit was overseen by the LAPD, who arrived at the property after being called by the landlord, who has spotted men, none of whom he recognizes, walking around in his yard. Look, it's a great thing that the police were there, and that it's going to be very hard to argue against 3 police officers of the LAPD, right? It's going to be very hard to argue that. I mean, she could claim whatever, but it is going to be something that is very difficult for her to argue in court, where it would, I can't imagine this would be favorable to her, but again, there's been so many twists and turns in the court system that a lot of shit I can't imagine. So let's see. According to the landlord, he said, I'm very relieved and also a bit overwhelmed. It was a long time coming, but now she is finally out. This weekend is going to be very positive. And the landlord has already taken steps to ensure that Hirschhorn can't come back. His lawyer, Sebastian Ritchie, actually contacted Hirschhorn's attorney, this woman named Amanda Stewart, saying that, they should cancel an eviction hearing in Santa Monica on Monday after the 55-year-old's exit, only to be told that she considers her move to be temporary. How the fuck can you move out of a place that you are renting temporary? No, girl. Okay, so in an email exchange back and forth between the 2 lawyers, Ritchie explains that his client has changed the locks, and then Amanda Stewart, which is Hirschhorn's attorney, told him that he may have jumped the gun and accused the landlord of harassment. Her attorney wrote, Ms. Hirschhorn had discussed with me concern over the constant harassment and surveillance and also the desire to get the things repaired that need to be repaired. And she continues with, subject to my discussions with Ms. Hirschhorn, please be advised you have no authority to change the locks or to assume abandonment of the property. Again, that's going to be very hard for her to prove, especially when there is pictures of 3 LAPD police officers that look like they're basically there to oversee her not damaging the property as she moves out. So anyway, his lawyer, the landlord's lawyer, was like completely shell-shocked by that response. And he said, we changed the locks when Hirschhorn left. Her lawyer responded that we jumped the gun as she intended to return after leaving. I responded that she was not allowed back, and the burden is now on her to go to court to regain possession. This lady has no shame. Her harassment continues, even from the grave, as they said. The landlord said he called the cops because he wanted to find out who the men were and why they were on my property and in my guest house. She did not answer my call. She has a lot of work ahead of her, and she still has a big lawsuit on her hands. Okay. She actually already has a new pad to crash at, to squat at. She actually is now staying at an extended hotel. It's one of those hotels that has extended stays, and it is a $3,600 a month. Rent is fully furnished. I mean, how the fuck does she pass a credit check? I don't even know. But it is unclear because Hirschhorn has a lengthy history of legal battles, including an 18-month fight with Amex, that's American Express, for those of you who don't know, over an unpaid $19,000 bill. How the fuck did she pass a credit check? She must be like committing like identity fraud or some shit, because there's no way that she has this judgment against her from Amex and she was able to pass a credit check. So the landlord says, I can't believe she was able to rent in LA after being exposed as a serial rent scammer. The real problem in U.S. society is that you can commit wrongdoing, but if you don't go to jail, you could just move on to the next one. This is very true, and especially in a very liberal state like California. Despite the uncertainty over whether Hirschhorn will regain possession of the guest house, her other legal battle with the landlord over $6,000 in unpaid rent will continue. So the landlord is asking that she be forced to pay all the back rent, but she says she does not have to pay and should be refunded her initial $19,000 payment for the first 6 months because the residence is an illegal unit. Okay, it's very ironic that she's asking for $19,000 because $19,000 is actually the judgment that was decided against her in her whole Amex fiasco. She's basically asking for $19,000 because she is on the judge decided that she's on that hook for $19,000 that she needs to pay back to American Express. And I feel like that is why she's asking in her countersuit that the landlord pays her $19,000 because that's what she wants. Anyway, so look, Hirschhorn actually moved into this current landlord's home less than 2 months after receiving a settlement in a similar case in Oakland, California. Hirschhorn, who was brought up in Massachusetts and previously lived in Arizona and New York City, moved into a $2.6 million cottage in the Bay Area city in September 2019 after subletting a room from another tenant. Less than 2 months into the tenancy, that tenant and Hirschhorn had become embroiled in a dispute over cleaning, which led to that tenant moving out in March 2020. Despite having no tenancy agreement with owners, the bishops, and refusing to pay rent, Hirschhorn ended up staying for another 18 months. The eviction battle began in August 2020 and ended with a settlement in July 2021. At the same time, Hirschhorn was fighting a second legal battle with credit card provider Amex over a $19,000 bill that the 55-year-old refused to pay on the grounds that they had failed to reimburse her for fraudulent charges. I mean, the fraudulent charges was probably her, but anyway. In March 2022, long after she had begun squatting at the current landlord's home, a judge in LA decided that she had been reimbursed by Amex and ordered her to pony up the full amount in $500 a month installments. Like, what the fuck does this woman even do for a living? I can't imagine anyone would want to hire somebody like her. She has a penchant for legal warfare dating back over 20 years and includes another sublet case in Venice Beach where she sued her landlord over alleged toxic fumes from a gas stove. Like the Oakland case, that also ended in a settlement, but not before it caused a headache for the owner. Along with a history of tenancy disputes, Hirschhorn has also left a trail of legal cases in her wake, including a 2019 case where she attempted to sue an LA couple over a car accident that occurred in 2017. And another case filed in May 2010 that saw her attempt to sue a motion picture literary agent named Joanne Freeman after showing her a 76-page excerpt from a novel she was writing at the time. According to the complaint, Freeman then used the manuscript as the basis for a TV pilot later sold to ABC and described her conduct as malicious, fraudulent, and oppressive. The case was dismissed 4 months after Hirschhorn filed it. Oh my goodness, lady. I mean, how come nobody is like hip to her nonsense? I mean, like, what is going on? This is why I can never live in a state like California. I can't live in a state like California. And even though I am from New York City and I am a New York City native, I could also no longer live in a city like New York City. I mean, I could live in New York State, because once you're outside of the 5 boroughs, it's a little bit more normal, but it's like way too uber liberal in the city itself. But anyway, yeah, this freaking tenant from hell, like, I feel bad for whatever hotel it is that she's renting this extended stay from, but whatever the hotel is, they must not have ran a credit check because there is no way. I feel bad for that hotel. The only thing that I could say in regards to that is that since they are a hotel and they're a luxury hotel, I'm assuming that they probably have the finances to have a bunch of corporate lawyers to haul her ass to court. And look, she was able to win settlements for all of the cases except for the one with Amex because, hello, American Express is a corporation. And what do corporations always have? They always have corporate lawyers. So I hope the hotel has corporate lawyers too.